Today we are going to start with the classes and the objects. Right, today we are going to start with what? Classes and the object. Yesterday we have seen something called as the functional programming. Three aspects of the functional programming: assigning functions to the variable, right? Then passing function as a parameter to the another function, and returning the functions from the functions. Returning the functions from the functions. Then we have seen another representation of writing the functions by means of lambda here, right, and here, lambda. This is a lambda representation, muting the variables. This, if your variable is unused, mute it by means of underscore and something like that. Now, under the OOPS, we are going to see the different aspects of the object orientation and how they have achieved in the Kotlin. Very first thing, you can create the class car. If your class doesn't contain anything, you can write class something like this. That's it. Right, so you would be getting a detailed documentation on this. Just go to the Kotlin lang, right? You can go to the Kotlin, and inside the Kotlin you can learn. Click on the learn, and into that classes and the objects. If you can see this, classes and the objects, right? This is called as the primary constructors. If you can see, you can write the constructor as well, you can write the secondary constructors as well, right? We'll see all that things, right? What are the secondary constructors, what are the primary constructors? See, this is a secondary constructor, this, and if you write something like this, this is a primary constructor. We'll see that. Now we have class car here, and into that class car I would be needing the fields or the states like Java does, right? Car, you can have the PZ. Well, it is of type number. Your PZ can be of type number, and then you can assign var or val, right? Var PZ is of type, you can say int, is equals to 10, like this. PZ, var PZ is of type int, and then like this, right? Now second thing, you can have the functions inside this fun, right? And you can say what's price, what's the price. We have seen the default return type of the function is what? Unit. Default return type of the function is unit. If you want to return the int, you need to specifically say that int, and your function is going to return only one thing, then you can say pz. That's it, is equals to pz. These functions are called as inline functions. Functions can be written in a line. If there is no two lines, you can write the function in a line, something like this. Well, you can make it private, means no one other than this function can access this outside this. Let's create, say val, I am saying now val cr is equals to, need to create object of car. There is a no new keyword, but simply val cr is equals to this. Now what is the difference between val and the var? What is the difference between val and the var? Can you tell me that difference between val and the var? Yes, val is kind of constant, you can never change the value, but var is kind of variable, you can change the value, right? Now there is one more thing, right? We are going to see that null, handling the nulls. We will see that in detail. But presently, allow me to cover this much. Now, I got the CR object, then you can say CR dot. Well, you would be needing some of the block. You can say main, right? And inside main, you can write this. That's perfect. And then you can say CR dot what's PZ. And you would be getting the answer. Here you can say print ln, right? Here you can get the print ln, and you can say car price is dollar CR dot what's PZ. CR dot what's PZ. Now, if you want to run this code, go to the try Kotlin, right? You can run here as well. You need to make some settings over there. Try Kotlin. Just copy your code and try to execute your code on the try Kotlin. Here you would be executing the code, and which would be giving you some answers, right? Paste it. Just try to run. Can you see car price is 10? That's what you have assigned. Private var car price is the 10. Same code I am writing here. Right. So this is how your, what you can say, simple class and other things will work. Simplest, minimalist version of your class. Now I would be writing one more class. You can say class BMW, and that need to be extended to the car. You can say to the car like this. Right. This there is a no extends keyword. There is a colon to say that BMW is a car. In the Java there is a extends keyword. Right? In the Java there is what? Extends keyword, but here is not. So it is saying that if you want to write constructor, I'll come back to this point a little bit later. Extends. If you want to write the constructor, you can directly write constructor over here. This is called as primary constructors, right? And if whatever your private fields are there, that need to be passed inside the constructor, if you can see this. So these are your round brackets, and inside round brackets you have something like this. I am writing inside round brackets private var PZ is equals to 10, right? Private var PZ is equals to, and you can define the number int type like this. Well, whenever you talk about the Kotlin, the indentation should be like this, right? Indentation should be like this. All the private fields need to be written in this manner if they are class state, and this is a good practice to write something like this. Class car private var PZ is equals to this and this. Well, it is absolutely not necessary that everything should be inside the class. Well, Java says that everything should be inside the class, but here that's not necessary at all. The main function is outside the class actually, but in the Java main need to be inside the class, and that's why it is a public static void main. But here absolutely not necessary. Function can be outside the class. Perfect. Right, private var PZ of type int is equals to 10. This thing is called as primary constructor. Now how do you write the secondary constructor? You can say class, right? you can say mouse, and into that there is a word called as constructor. You need to write the word called as constructor. These constructors are called as secondary constructors. Now you can have some private fields, typical Java style, private, where you can say txt is of type string is equals to hi, and then you can say this dot txt is equals to Android, like this, right? So convert it to primary. What it is saying, please convert it to primary until unless you pass something over here, right? You can say where tx is of type string, like this, tx is of type string, and then you can say this dot txt is equals to tx. That is also doable. So well, this is a typical Java style. This is nothing but what? Typical Java style. But this can be achieved something like this. Means you don't need to do something like this. You would be passing some parameter to the constructor, and after passing the parameter you are going to assign to the main state, right? So there is a tx, and you can say this dot txt is equals to tx, and this tx is passing somewhere from the outside. Means whenever you would be creating object, ms is equals to mouse. Can you see here, you need to pass one parameter, say Android. This is nothing but what your Android is, right? Android. So that is nothing but this parameter, but this line is equal to this line, right? You can say 15. Can you see pz directly 15? And whatever you did here, the assignment is called as default values. Means you pass the pz or you don't pass the pz, it is going to consider the value as 10. It would be considering the value as 10 anyhow. Default parameters. The concept of this called as assigning value to the parameter is called as default parameters. Right. Now to the what pz, I would be having one parameter, say nm is of type int. Nm is of type what? Int. And this is a optional. You pass it or you don't pass it. That's the optional. Optional parameters, or here itself. But why it's giving me the error? Now if you want to assign some value directly over here, assign the 10. Default parameters. Means from here you don't need to call, you don't need to pass every time. You pass it or you don't pass it, right? You pass it, pass the 10, or you don't pass the 10. Now if I remove this, it's a compulsory to pass the value. But if you wanna skip this, if you wanna call this function without parameter, you can say is equals to 10, like this. And pz into nm, you can say some logic. Default parameters. You can pass default parameters like this. Right. Default parameters. Means see, either you can pass 89 over here, the value of nm becomes what? 89. If you didn't pass it, the value of nm becomes what? 10. Value of nm becomes what? 10. Foundational things. These are very important. Foundational things are really important. Default parameters, primary constructors, and the secondary constructors.
Return type of what we did is
Int, yes. Here you have written int. If you want to skip, that is also possible. From the value, it will automatically identify the type. First principle of the Kotlin, from the value, I am going to identify the type. Value is int. Inline function.
return type is
Inline. Okay, there are some more configurations. There is an inline keyword also, which will compulsory make function inline. Right. Any?
return type ची variable असेल त्यांचं जर data type असेल त्याप्रमाणे ते return
Yes, it will calculate the return type. Any question on this so far? Right, so this is how you will create the classes. This is how you will create the constructors, primary constructors, secondary constructors, default parameters, right? And this is how you will call. Either you can call same function. This is not a overloading, remember that. One function with the parameter or without the parameter. One and same. Just go through it. Let me push the code. You can check it on your machine, add, then commit, then you can say Kotlin, and you can say object oriented programming. How to do object oriented programming in the Kotlin. Right, I have pushed the code, please check it.